In 20 minutes time, we should be done. Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. Bye-bye. So hello, everyone. So as you could hear from Anarita, we have 20 minutes for discussion. And this workshop questions, we have 3 groups of the questions. And I will open immediately and start the session with the first question. So because we don't have too much time, I can see here in terms of the participants, if you would like to attend or to ask the questions, please raise or write the question, or like write your comment or raise your hand if you would like to answer on those questions to involve in discussion. And then I will activate the microphone and the camera from your side so that we can all hear you and see you. And then we start with the first question. And the first question relates to what should the priorities be for the public sector and the society in terms of mobility and transport. So in the sense here, we can think of how those priorities are linked to economic recovery. So it would be like social inclusion or limited environmental impact. So how we do those priorities? Maybe there is a higher list than only those 3 examples. So would you like to share? And do you think that this is how COVID era has impacted those priorities, let's say, and how long they will be active? Do we see here along the horizon up to 2025, or maybe like even earlier that those priorities will change? So I leave now the session open for you to comment on this one, and please feel free if you're interested to join and comment.
Okay, yeah, I would like to comment. Probably I think the first issue is the limit of environmental impact in the long term until 2025. And of course, there will be a stage of economic recovery, which will be, in my opinion, in a shorter term, maybe in a couple, 2 or 3 years. And probably this will be a good opportunity to see how the preferences will shift to more active modes, also not only in terms of environment, but also in terms of personal health, more healthy to walk or to bike. Now, regarding social inclusion, I don't know what to comment on that.
Yeah, maybe it also the social inclusion is also a bit of the part of the personal health, because, for example, in any active mode behavior, if you want to use to walk more or to cycle more, yeah, and then and this should be also enabled to all people and the citizens in the cities. So even in the areas that are less accessible, and this could reflect also the maybe idea of the social inclusion, yeah, that we provide to all citizens in the city. So like, you know, like there are these areas in the cities that are deserted, for example, and then their transport options and behavior for them is maybe different, and maybe some of the options could be also higher at the level of the priority for them.
Yes, exactly. And also from urban freight side, this huge increase in deliveries at home. It's very interesting to see how the behavior of consumers, if it's going to remain like that, and how it will evolve in the coming years. And this is a very good opportunity to optimize also freight operations within the city and to go into greener modes there as well, electric vans, bikes, etc.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah. And we have here Jana also from Athens.
Yes,
and
hello.
I see that.
Good afternoon. Hi. So yes, I agree more or less with these options. So I have written down, I think, the priority for each point. In terms of economic recovery, obviously, we need to optimize operations and plan better, transport according to the new demands. On the second level, on social inclusion, I think, we need to focus on the promotion of mobility as a service and on-demand services in order to cover all different actors and all different, social groups and the stakeholders. And the third one on the environmental impacts, obviously electromobility, but we need, because focus at the moment is more on infrastructure, I think we need to incentivize also, because whatever the public sector, we need to have electromobility in every different type of mobility, be it passengers mobility, freight mobility, or own vehicles even. So all of this needs an integrated system. So in a way, promote electromobility as a whole.
Yeah, but also from the infrastructure that supports the hardware part of that is required to support this electromobility, the whole system that can operate, with the charging infrastructure, for example.
Yes, exactly. This is mostly what is going on at the moment, I think, across Europe. And there are initiatives of trying to implement, design and have charging stations or quick charges in several points. But I think it's not only the infrastructure, we also need to promote the broader use of the vehicles in general.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And do you see how the COVID-19 has impacted priorities here? Is there any kind of how much, do you see the shift in the priorities, or you see this is still under the impact of the more long-term ideas, something that we see in the horizon of 2030 maybe period, and then because there are these kind of small, rather short-term policies that we can implement in the shorter time, and as a response to the COVID, but the long term, do they change or?
Obviously, the response to COVID makes prioritizes other things like safety and health, not so much the environmental factor. Unfortunately, the environment is the last priority and policy level at the moment. So that goes for the longer term.
Yeah.
At the moment, and due to this unfortunate situation that we are in, I think that all the public sector should promote safer mobility and try to adapt so that it can help people move. But it is a new way of doing things, like in every function of our everyday life. So they need tools and ways to try to optimize their operations at the moment to deal with it without reducing, I would say, without excluding people from moving around.
Yeah. So just to enable actually to be more inclusive for everybody, and then to have an option to guarantee the safety. Okay, I would like to also ask maybe Vincent, if you would like to comment on this question before we move to the next one, or maybe Frances.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you very well.
Yeah, perhaps let's move to the next one.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure we are very good on time, and I will request.
Yeah, we are 9 minutes already. So we have the question too.
I just feel bad because of that. I will intervene later. Okay.
No worries. Here we are still connected to the priorities. So here in the question too is more like what are now barriers that we perceive to achieve those priorities, and we actually just open now that already in the previous question. So what can stop us from achieving those priorities? Now we have discussed about that the optimization of the operations, for example, is really required, and then some kind of social inclusion as well in a short term more that will enable the citizens more safe mobility in the city, more, let's say, with less restrictions. And
Can I say something? It's Joanna from Delft.
Hi, Joanna.
Yes, as a comment.
Yeah. The sound is disturbed, yeah? Maybe we can leave a comment then just in a chat box, because the sound doesn't work very well. We cannot hear each other's. Maybe we can just type the answers in the chat box, and then we can then go to maybe to leave you just 1 minute to everybody to write down, and then then I will read them aloud, and then I will just give a comments on them. Okay, so here I see the comment from Joanna going in more direction is that still the citizens, for example, are not accepting the public transport as a safe, corona-safe transport mode, and how this perception can be achieved and switched. And this could be the barrier for us for the adaptation of the previous concepts that we discussed. But then also, for me, is also what I perceived was this necessity from the industry, from the service providers, and also from the policymakers to have a more like an integrated approach, to agree to share the data, the vision, the policy, the pricing system, etc. And this could be very strong, like a pitfall, let's say, or barrier for implementation of the strategies and the policies realizations. I see also that Maria is writing down that that among the other barriers, as in most cases, are mainly financial, as many of the policies, for example, the one for the electromobility that requires the construction of very costly infrastructures, public acceptance in the adoption of measures like autonomous vehicles may also be an issue. Francese's fear to share crowded spaces could remain after COVID era. Yeah, so we have to think more about how to break that renaissance of the cars again, and then to introduce more like maybe even the design of the new pop-up measures that require less infrastructure investments, but still again that will provide more space for the active modes to be used, and instead of just to protect our streets from being more explored by the cars. Now, if you feel, just because we are now, if we have 4 minutes left, so I will go on the question number 3, but feel free to leave the comments also in the chat box if any of barriers you have some idea on more barriers on your mind. So the question 3 for us here today is, how can we use emergency planning to strengthen the transportation planning process? How do we use the knowledge we have to improve our chances of success? So here, how I perceive this question is that whether do we need more tools, better tools for the more and quick various scenario simulations, for example, to evaluate and test the policies and to see and to decide on the best set of the policies? Or it's more along the line that maybe even the level of the policies that our city before were perceived, and now maybe there is a new set of the policies that are required. And do you have any feedback on this one? Okay, from Jana, we have a feedback that again the collaboration really plays an important role. So is this for the collaboration, for example, something that is required at more, like if we have kind of emergency planning policy even, that we have the new structure or architecture of who will be responsible and when in which situations and what decisions, like the whole like vertical and horizontal organization of the different public and industry players in the whole mobility system. So we can design the very clear architecture. Maybe this was missing before, but then yes, that to have the full like leadership for the crisis like this. Maybe we know how much time it took to make some decisions also and to reorganize, to find the people. And from the feedback from Maria is that I think the main problem in the post-COVID era will be the estimation of the demands, since this may drastically change in the case of extensive teleworking or distance learning. Any tool that can assist in this direction would be extremely helpful. Yes, we totally agree, and we hope in a harmony we'll be able to collect the data on this impact and to see how the behavior of people and the long distance learning, for example, will have an impact. Maybe even when we start even the eating habits, we see the huge changes here in Barcelona. We started eating earlier the dinner. So, and the orders because of the Corfu. So it could be also the one of the long-term behavioral switches when people realize. And this will definitely have an impact on the mobility pattern as well. And definitely some peak hours shift. Commuter consumer surveys can show us possible behavior switches. Absolutely, I totally agree with this one. And maybe this with these app-based tools that we have today and the surveys, they could be more efficient in collecting the data and with from the citizens. Okay. So it seems like we reached the session. We have to close the session because I'm getting feedback from here that, but again, if there is, do you have more comments to jump in to? And also the freight logistics that we are seeing, yeah? Even with the bikes just going around and doing delivery services for the food, it's changed a lot, the part.